Welcome to the First Right Podcast, a weekly conservative news show brought to you by Restoration of America. I'm your host, Jerry Ewald, Chief Marketing Officer for Restoration of America. And today we are blessed to connect with Lieutenant Colonel Alan West, the Executive Director at the American Constitutional Rights Union, a political commentator and veteran. Well, Alan, it is an absolute honor to have you on the show today.
Well, thanks for having me, and I really appreciate it. And when you talk about the restoration of our country, of the constitutional republic that I love, that's so important to me.
Yeah, we're definitely on the same page with that one. And again, we're so honored to have you on the show. But before we begin, I first want to thank you for your past, present, and future service to this country. And if you wouldn't mind just giving a brief background on your dedication to America and how you became so involved for our audience.
Well, I think that's what our family business is in the West family. My dad served this country in World War II, my older brother in Vietnam as a Marine. Everyone has a black sheep of the family. My dad challenged me at the age of 15 to be the first officer in our family, and so I answered that call and that challenge. I was commissioned 31 July 1982 at the University of Tennessee as a field artillery officer and served 22 years. My nephew right now is serving as a lieutenant colonel in the United States Army, also field artillery. And my father-in-law, my wife's husband, Master Sergeant Ronald Keith Graham, served 24 years in the United States Army, and he is buried at Arlington National Cemetery, having done 2 tours of duty in Vietnam. So that's who we are in our family. We believe in service, sacrifice, and commitment to this great nation.
And it's four generations. Is that right?
Yeah.
That's amazing. Thank you again so much for what you've done and the generations, what your generations have done. So I appreciate it.
Mm-hmm.
So let's jump into it. I think you said you were born in Georgia, right? And if I'm not mistaken, actually Atlanta, right? You were in Fulton County.
Absolutely.
All right. So all over the news today, or recently, I should say. So I would love to get your take on these outlandish usage of the RICO laws that are used against our President Donald Trump and the indictments that he's seeing right now. What's your take?
Well, I always tell people that you can count on evil to overplay his hand. And for them to try to use the Racketeering, Influence, and Criminal Organizations or Corrupt Organizations Act, the RICO Act, against a former president's administration, I mean, that's a step too far, especially when you think about the Clinton Global Initiative and the Biden Crime Family, Inc. Those are real instances of RICO violations. But Fani Willis, for whatever reason, has really bitten off more than she can chew. And the fact that she would include in this indictment former mayor of New York City and former federal U.S. attorney and prosecutor Rudy Giuliani, who knows RICO in and out, backward and forward, because he used that in dealing with the mafia. Right. So I think that this is an incredible overreach by Fani Willis. It's not going to be successful. And in the long run, I really believe what the left wants to do is just tie up former President Trump with a lot of legal proceedings going back and forth and things of this nature. I don't think that they could see much of this to be successful. And when you look at some of the indictments listed there, these are things that the Democrats did after elections of 2004, 2008, 2016 even.
Yeah, I think a lot of people are pointing to this and saying this is election interference because, I mean, when you think about the primaries going out right now and the election next year, he's so far ahead in the Republican race right now that this is going to distract him, no doubt, and that seems to be their intention.
No, this is absolutely their intention, their goal. And it is to, tomorrow morning after the debate, he'll have to present himself in Fulton County, and they're going to force him to have the mug shot and all of these things. That's what they want to have out there as a picture. That's their campaign ad that they're going to try to run if President Trump is the eventual nominee for the Republican Party in the 2024 election cycle.
Now, again, you grew up there. Are you just shocked that a state like Georgia could be doing something like this?
No, I'm not shocked. As a matter of fact, when you understand what the progressive socialist left is doing in red states, they're going in and they're taking over the major urban population centers. And there is nothing greater than the Atlanta, Fulton County area, but then also Augusta, Columbus, Savannah, and also Macon. And as well as you look here in Texas, They have taken over Dallas County, Austin, Texas, which is the capital of Texas, and Travis County, Houston, Harris County, San Antonio, Bexar County. So what you see is that these pockets of blue in red states are really the major population centers where you see the greatest amount of failure of leftist policies, and that's going to be their mantra to flip red states. Look at what they have been able to do in Colorado, Nevada, and even in the state of Washington, where most of that state is red, except for King County, which is Seattle-Tacoma area.
Yeah, it seems to be moving fast and spreading like a cancer, if you will. One of the things that you mentioned, what's happening in Fulton County, that I think really sticks out, and it fits really well with the article you wrote called "The Tenacious and the Timid," is they are absolutely tenacious, and they're not timid. They're very bold on what they're doing. So, talk a little bit about that article and what drove you to write that article.
Well, it's very simple. Look at the comparison contrast between when the left is in political power control. They're totalitarian, they're tyrannical. And even if they're in the minority, they're still tenacious. But the fact that you have Republicans now with all the evidence against Joe Biden for impeachment, first and foremost, you can impeach him on what he has done with our border. Article 4, Section 4 of the Constitution clearly states what the federal government is supposed to do in protecting the sovereignty of the United States of America. So that's an impeachable offense, high crime, misdemeanor, treason. But yet we continue to see this recalcitrance and this reticence about, well, you know, we just got to build the case. We got to take it easy. We got to get more evidence. They impeached Donald Trump not once but twice. First and foremost, on a hoax that was created by Hillary Clinton and her cronies, and then the second time on a phone call where Donald Trump was trying to get to the bottom of what we now know, the influence of Vice President Biden to have a special prosecutor in Ukraine dropped because he was investigating his son's business dealings.
So expand more on this. So talk about the conservative movement here. So we have the tenacious, which seems to be the left, right? They are bold, they're fearless, they're going over the top, and they don't care. And it would seem that we're a bit more on the timid side, where we're allowing all these things to happen, and we're allowing it to happen. So why is that, and what can conservatives do to kind of reverse that?
Well, first and foremost, I would say read the book Saul Alinsky's Rules for Radicals and understand their mentality and their mindset. Progressive, socialists, leftists, Marxists, communists, they're all about instilling fear, coercion, intimidation, threats, and ultimately violence in order to get their way. They believe that the ends justify the means, and the means is by any means necessary. And what we have to do is, first and foremost, admit that we have a very dedicated political opposition that is, in their nature, this is evil that we're talking about. They don't believe in constitutional rights and individual rights. They believe in their ideological rights. And so you have to do, as former state senator of California wrote a book, H.L. Richardson wrote a book called Confrontational Politics. You got to be really willing to confront them and meet them on the battlefield. You have to go on offense and not play defense all of the time, and call them out in every way, shape, form, or fashion. But again, you have to take the narrative. You have to seize the initiative, or carpe diem, seize the opportunity, seize the day. And I think that's what we fail to do on our side. We're always playing catch up, and like I said, we're always playing defense against them.
Yeah, you threw in the Latin proverb in your article, fortune favors the bold.
Yes.
And, it really got me thinking, too, right? Because I, as a conservative Christian myself, I think a lot about how do we get the church more engaged and more bold in what's going on. And again, it reminds me of the story in Joshua, right? When God told Joshua and the Israelites to go into the land of Canaan, take it, it's yours. And oh, by the way, you're going to be fighting some giants along the way. And he told them, be strong and courageous. Do not be frightened or dismayed, for the Lord your God is with you wherever you go. And I really think that Christians need to remember that and really stand up, because now is the time to be tenacious and not timid, as you put it.
No, you're absolutely right. And furthermore, you go to the New Testament in Romans 12, chapter 12, verse 2, where it says that we are not supposed to conform to the world, but we're supposed to transform it through the renewing of our minds. And so when you're out there and you look at a lot of these churches, I think there's a great book out there now called Woke Jesus, how they're trying to massage and shape Christianity into mainstream society, and that does not work. When you see rainbow flags and these weird transgender flags on churches and things of this nature,
Right.
you're supposed to stand upon the word. And it says, no weapon formed against you shall prosper, and every tongue which rise against you in judgment you shall condemn. That's Isaiah 54:17. So I don't understand why we have these, cowardly pastors that won't stand up. And think about how the very first thing during COVID, what was it that the government wanted to shut down? Wasn't Lowe's, wasn't Home Depot, McDonald's, or even marijuana, distributors, or even stop abortion. They wanted to close down the churches, and we cannot allow that to happen again.
You're right on with that, and it's no surprise that socialism has invaded the church as well. So the church needs to wake up and see what's going on before it's too late.
Yes. No, you're absolutely right. And Karl Marx, he hated religion. He hated Christianity. He hated God, Jesus, all of these things. He called it the opiate of the masses. And so the very basic understanding of socialism as an economic model is secular humanism.
Yes, that's right. So let's shift gears a little bit. You've spent a lot of time at the border, and you've witnessed the invasion of illegal immigrants, the wave, all right, the surging the border. You saw it firsthand, and then you've also noted how law enforcement is not allowed to do their job in enforcing the border. And then this is the kicker, right? So now that we have in Illinois, we have a governor, J.B. Pritzker, who is now allowing illegal immigrants to become police officers, right? So the irony in that. So speak a little bit about that.
Well, I think that's the most ludicrous thing I ever heard. You're going to have people that have come here illegally, and you're going to give them the authority to be able to arrest illegal American citizens. And so first and foremost, I think that you're going to find there will be a lot of constitutional sheriffs out there that will not take part or will not allow that to happen, will not go along with that. But you're also setting yourself up for a whole bunch of lawsuits, in that how can you have someone that you can't even vet, you don't even know their background, and you're going to make them a law enforcement officer when their very act of being in the United States of America was breaking the law? So so I don't get it, and I think this is once again shows the overreach of the evil of the progressive socialist left. And this is a very trying time, because if they would rather have people here illegally as law enforcement officers instead of American citizens, and they want to disarm American citizens, but yet they want to arm illegals to have legal power over us, that's a powder keg.
I mean, you can't even make this stuff up. That's why I wanted to get your take on it, because it seems so absurd, but yet it's happening.
Yeah, it is. And I think that's the thing that we have to come to understand, is that these people have no bounds. They have no limitations. They are only focused on one thing, and that is power. And again, it comes back to us, being, not being timid, but, starting to be bold and to step forward, because if we don't, they're going to continue to do what they're doing. This is very Pavlovian, because if you continue to reward this type of bad behavior, you're just going to get more of this.
Speaking of rewarding bad behavior, let's talk a little bit about social credit, right? That's the exact same thing. This is rewarding how you feel about the government and your place in society. And if the government doesn't like that, maybe you're conservative, maybe you're a Christian, whatever it is, or doesn't, they can cancel you or make it very difficult for you to buy, sell, even gain employment or travel. And that's what the social credit system is. And we see that in China already today, but we're at the beginnings of that in America. Can you talk a little bit about what you're seeing?
Well, absolutely. I mean, you don't have to go too far. Look to the north, where you had those truckers that were out there, protesting about the COVID shutdowns and mandates and things of this nature. And what did Justin Trudeau and Canada do? They froze their bank accounts. And so we're not that far away. You already have the corporate equity index, which is being pushed by the Human Rights Campaign. If you don't know who they are, you should look them up. As a Soros-backed organization. We have this environmental social governance thing that is going on, and a lot of our investment funds are used towards pushing the climate change religion and the ideological left's agenda. And so it's going to get to be the point where people are going to have their purchases tracked. As a matter of fact, there was a goal to try to see, people going out and purchasing firearms. They wanted to have that recorded. Why would you want to know about, Allen West purchasing firearms? For one whole reason. And so, yes, all of a sudden, banks and things of this nature are going to say that we don't want to do business with you. And when you combine it with this centralized banking digital currency, the next thing you know, you're going to go to a grocery store, you're going to go somewhere to conduct a purchase, and you're going to see that your account has been frozen because why? You're a Christian constitutional conservative. You're not going along with the ideological agenda of the left. So this is not about unity and that speech that Biden gave in his inauguration. This is about conformity. This is about subjugation. This is about subservience. And they are laying out exactly what they believe that you as the model citizen should do. And if you don't do it, we're going to cancel you, or we're going to have an illegal immigrant arrest you.
Absolutely, that's exactly what would happen. And people need, going back to the theme of what we've been talking about, people need to wake up to what's going on, because that's exactly what's happening right now. So when people go out and say, why would Bud Light make a decision that goes against their entire consumer base, that alienated them and turned them off? The answer is the social credit system. It's CEI,
Yes.
the corporate equity index, because when they do that, they get better scores and they get better investments from banks and things like that. There's a whole system set up to reward that type of behavior and to condition you as the consumer to do what they want.
Or look at Target. The exact same thing happened with Target. So yes, these businesses and corporations are more so concerned about the 1 to 2% of the leftist ideological agenda and their crowd, the LGBTQ plus IA alphabet soup mafia, than being concerned about us as the everyday consumer and citizen. So you have to start looking and seeing, where else will you see this happening? So I think the conservatives need to wake up. They need to look up this corporate equity index and see, which companies are involved in that. I love running. That's one of my big things, and I run with Brooks Shoes. And I got this long email and everything about how they are, so involved in their carbon footprint and all of this stuff. And I don't care about that crap. Just make good running shoes, okay? Stop.
So my knee and back doesn't hurt when I run. Exactly.
Yeah, so absolutely. That's what I'm concerned about. But yes, they are kowtowing to this false god from the left.
No, they are. And look, I really appreciate all the work that you've done to expose this and then comment on this, right? I mean, you've been bold and fearless and all this stuff. What can conservatives do? How do they get more engaged in what's going on and put an end to all this madness? What can we do?
Well, I think first and foremost, you have to be better informed, better educated, and therefore you can be better activated. And one of the things that we're doing at the American Constitutional Rights Union, we have started what we call Live Free Local. Too often conservatives have not paid attention to the local level of governance, being at your city council, school boards, county commissions. And we want to get people focused there at those grassroots levels because guess what? I've always said that the most important elected position in the United States of America is school board. And I think we have come to understand why. When you have this state control of our children, that's what the left is pushing. We don't own our children. They're not ours. They belong to them and everybody else. We're not going to tell parents about gender mutilation and dysphoria and things of this nature. We're just going to allow the kids to be able to do it. And if the parents intervene, we're going to take the kids away. We've got to stand up at the local level. So I think it's so important that we start to get engaged there. Poll watchers, poll workers, all of these things, so we can keep an eye on the electoral process.
Well, and that's going to be my last question for you. How do we make sure that we have fair and transparent elections coming up in 2024?
Well, I think it's so important that people understand that the level of governance that executes or creates the processes and procedures for elections in the United States of America is the county level. And that's why county commissions are so important. And if you go back and look at the 2020 presidential electoral map broken down by county, there's a lot of red counties out there. So I think we can start getting in the right type of ordinances and the right type of processes and procedures. We're not going to do, mail-in ballots. We're not going to have illegals voting in our respective counties. And we can codify that so that the left cannot come in and manipulate things in our respective counties. And we can isolate them only to the blue counties where they do have some prominence, but we can still be very vigilant and resolute even there.
No, it's I think you're right on with that. Our very own Gina Swoboda, I know you spent a lot of time with her.
Yeah.
She's fearless in that battle as well. So, Alan, I want to thank you for your boldness, your courage, and may God continue to bless you on your journey in the battle ahead. So thank you so much.
It's my pleasure. Thanks for having me. I look forward to the next time.
All right, well, that's our show for today. Thank you so much for tuning in and supporting conservative media. Don't ever forget that by working together and staying diligent, we conservatives can bring our country back to true greatness. Until next week, let's all keep praying that God will continue to bless America.
First Right, a new kind of news summary without the liberal slant. Every morning, in your inbox, always free. Subscribe by texting First Right to 30161. That's First Right, all caps, one word, to 30161.